Good Friday morning. Tim Radford with you here on WKRK Radio in Murphy, North Carolina, 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, worldwide at country.am. It is time for the weekly report from Sheriff Derek Palmer, and happy Friday to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing great. It's a Friday. I love Fridays.
I do too.
Yes.
Yeah. Winding the week down. Right. Time to go home for a day or two.
Mm-hmm. And before we even start our show, we already have a question.
We do.
On Facebook.
All right.
Linda Johnson-Jones wants to know, how many canines does Cherokee County have?
Oh, that's a good question. I think right now we've got 4, I think right now.
All right.
Yeah, 4 canines.
I know they're very helpful in investigation.
Our bloodhound, we're actually retiring our bloodhound. The handler that had him before is no longer employed with us, and so he turned back in the sheriff's office, and we've been letting him run in the backyard there at the sheriff's office, got a dog house and everything back there for him. And, of course, we've been having to bring him inside in the cold weather, letting him come in. We've got a rec area inside the detention center, and been putting him inside that rec area of a night, and where it's staying good and warm during this cold weather. But we're going to retire him before too long, and he's done his service for us. And we may do a little ceremony for him, a little celebration or something.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
How many years usually do the canines last in that capacity?
Like for the bloodhound, usually 7 to 10 years, and he's right in that range right now. The actual drug dogs that we have, the drug sniffing dogs, they can go a little bit longer because they're not as stringent. Right, to work on it. A bloodhound has to do a lot of tracking, going through the woods and and up and down mountains and valleys and crossing rivers and those kind of things. And so the drug sniffing dogs, I think, can get a little bit more use out of those. But the bloodhounds and the tracking dogs, their joints wear out and they get old, like me and and don't perform like they used to. And so after about 7 years, you have to start looking at retiring them.
All right. Well, very good.
Yeah.
Well, this morning we had Robin Caldwell and Jessica Orton on from the Cherokee County Emergency Management Office. That's hard for me to say for some reason.
Right.
And we talked a lot about, 911 addressing, how important it is to have those signs at the foot of your driveway or your mailbox. And we also talked about Nixle. We want to make sure people know how to get signed up for emergency notifications, because back in the old days, people kind of relied on tornado sirens, but they don't get out like Nixle does.
Yeah.
So Nixle gets out pretty much all the cell phones and landline phones, which is a great way to notify folks in case of an emergency.
That's great.
And folks can go to Nixle.com, Nixle.com. For more information on that. We also talked about the public appreciation dinner for active public servants, law enforcement and fire, all those first responder type folks that's coming up. So I just want to touch base. We had her on. How does her office and your office and other agencies in the county work together?
Well, that's a good question, and there's a lot of different ways we can answer that. We go through a lot of different angles with it, but basically, one of the things that Robin does is through her office is she makes for us as sure as far as like emergency preparedness, disaster drills, and things of that nature, that whatever key component that we play in those drills, that we are up to date on that and take part in those drills. And they do from time to time different kind of debriefings and different kind of trainings and different things for that. For example, if you have a tornado come through, or like we're getting ready to have some cold weather come through and possibly some snow next week. And so one of the things we'll be discussing like safety shelters and cold weather shelters and things like that, and where does law enforcement play into that, as far as when people we run across and pick up and find, how do we get them to the right places they need to get to, and all those kind of things. And, just that law enforcement aspect of it. Then she'll work with EMS, as far as their response, and fire departments and all the different players around. So we all have a piece of the puzzle that we contribute to, but Robin's in charge of trying to put all those pieces together. We're pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, and she's the player that puts all the pieces in the proper places.
and it is important because you never want to be able you never want to go through a disaster like that without any kind of preparation, any kind of
Right.
warning system, or any kind of plan of action for when that actually does happen. So
Right.
that's a very important job to have, is to be able to
yeah.
do all that.
So, like, one of the things she'll do is she tries to keep track with us as far as, how many 4-wheel drive vehicles we have, what our capabilities are, those type of things. And so, as we see cold weather approaching, we do have some Humvees that we have acquired through the Law Enforcement Support Services program, and also I think we acquired one from Andrews Police Department, but they got it through LESS also. And so we try to keep those things up to date and keep them running. And so we don't expect a blizzard to come Tuesday, but you never know. They're expecting, I think, about an inch or so is kind of snow is what they're kind of expecting right now. But who knows? They may hang around a while. We might get 4 or 5 inches, or we may get nothing. It may just get all rain.
That's true.
But we have to be prepared for all those different contingencies.
And I don't know if folks have noticed on our TV channel, our new weather maps. Whenever a map comes back around, if you'll folks look at it, we have the terrain on there, like all the mountainous areas that surround Murphy. When we say the higher elevations, that whole circle normally gets snow,
Right.
And then the valleys where Murphy and we will get that rain. So
Right.
I really love having those new maps, because you can see those elevated areas that I'll look from a house, I'll see snow like on a mountain that's just not far from me, but completely
Right.
dry. So
Just a couple hundred feet, hundred feet difference.
it makes the world of difference. But you could get some really great pictures there,
Right.
Of snow. And I know around Andrews, Topton, those areas, the higher elevations, sometimes people don't understand with school closings when the superintendent calls at 4 a.m. to close school, and there's nothing on the ground in Murphy,
Right.
but Andrews could have an inch of snow,
You
or
could.
Topton,
Or,
and it's not
or
really
Unaka or some of those places, Violet, some
Exactly.
of those places in the northern part of the county.
So that's one thing that people need to keep in mind too when school closings happen. That it's not just for your one neighborhood;
Right.
it's for the whole county.
Yeah. And again, with that preparedness, those are the things that people like Robin try to deal with and try to look into with the school systems and with all the emergency apparatus in the county and those type of things. And she tries to stay on top of everything, and she really needs all of our cooperation to be on top of that. And sometimes, we got our own little, like I say, our own little piece of the pie that we're busy off doing something else, and we're like, here's Robin calling again, wanting to know about how many trucks we got, and I'm busy doing this. But it's very important that that we take the time to help her do the things that she needs to get done over there. It's beneficial for our county. It's beneficial for the citizens.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, what else has been going on at the sheriff's office here lately in the community?
Well, I actually met this morning with the detention administrator and the captain and the attorneys and stuff. Just trying to evaluate where we're at with the detention. It's been a hot topic for the last 6 months or so, and issues in the past, and trying to figure out what we have to deal with and where we need to go forward and those kind of things. And so trying to get updates from those folks about what's happening. We're looking over everything, like I've said before. I mean, not just detention, but sheriff's office side also. We're in that process now, starting that new term of looking at our policies and procedures, updating those, making sure they're up to par and where we need them to be. Policies may be good, we may just need to change the language in a little bit or something like that, but just kind of looking at our structure and revamping everything and changing things around. And we've already made some changes in the first couple of months of this administration and this 4-year cycle. And I anticipate as the spring comes, we'll make more changes, and we'll do some other things a little bit differently. But one of the things this week, not just talking with those folks and what's happening there, but I've had the opportunity this past week to sit down with other folks from the federal realm, with DEA and the ATF and different people, and have conversations with them. And we're in a really good place right now as far as cooperation with the federal government, cooperation with tribal police, with the casino and other tribal properties in the area. That we're really been out doing a lot of good work and doing a lot of good things that I just can't tell you about right now. But we're doing a lot of cooperation, doing a lot of partnerships, a lot of things together. Instead of all of us trying to be out, trying to do our own individual pieces like we talked about when Robin's doing with us, bringing everything together, but bringing together all these agencies and working together and having a better cooperation, a better relationship with that. And so I've been very happy with the things I've seen in the last couple of months and the changes that we made and what's going on. And I know that our narcotics guys and patrol officers, they brought several people in the last couple of weeks on trafficking charges and different drug charges and different things that's happening, and a lot more that's coming down the road. But like I say, we're just not charged yet because we're doing undercover operations and different things. But I've been very pleased with talking with those folks from the federal agency, and mending some fences and building some bridges and getting to where we need to be.
It's kind of good when you can work together like that, because not only are you getting the expertise, but you can also pull together a lot of the resources too.
Right.
I mean, there's no reason that we need to have maybe something to defuse bombs when there's somebody you can call to that already has that equipment bought and paid for that we can use.
That's right. And using bomb for an example, if you see that suspicious package, it's a lot better to call the bomb squad out of Asheville to come out and deal with it than it is to poke it with a stick.
Right. Exactly.
May or may not go off. And so a lot of the different issues we deal with is the same way, with the drug issues and the things that we have out here. We've worked with the DA in the past. We've worked with the FBI and the ATF and all of them in the last 4 years. But what we're wanting to do is kind of bring that circle in a little bit tighter. We're wanting to bring it in to where we're working a little bit more closely and doing things together instead of just doing our piece and handing it off to somebody else. Actually being out in the field together, doing work together. And so those are the things that we're seeing coming to fruition now and is happening now. And with that, our federal government, a lot of people don't realize this, is able to, when they work specific cases and got specific things going on, they can actually swear our folks into their federal agency. It's called a TFO, a trained field or a field officer there. And so we can swear those people in as TFOs, and then they can work under the same authority as the federal government on those cases. So if we're working a case together, let's say the casino, for example, and we're working with the tribal police and the DEA on that, and we're sworn into a federal case on that type of thing. Those officers that are sworn in, if they have something that goes across the line into North Georgia or East Tennessee or on tribal property or U.S. Forest Service, wherever it may be, then they have the authority and the legal justification to do investigations on those places. So just bringing that in closer, tightening it up, getting it all together is helping things move along a little quicker and a little faster than it has in the past. And I think you're going to see some good things in the next little bit coming out.
All right.
Yeah.
How many, I know your whole office operates under the umbrella of the sheriff's office. How many divisions do you have underneath
that's a good question. Well, we have the patrol division. Well, let's start with administration. We have administrative division. We have victim services division. We have patrol. We have investigations. We have the sex offender portion of it, gun registration, permits, civil process. We have dispatch and detention. So that's 9 there that I mentioned there. So, and there's other little subsections of all that.
It's a pretty big operation, and there's a lot of people working there, but a lot more work to do than there are people.
There is.
So with budget,
we got people doing multiple jobs too. They cross-trained and doing multiple things to try to help relieve some of the burden that's there. So,
with the upcoming budget in the works right now, what are some of the things that you may ask for as far as new things in the sheriff's office budget?
Well, one of the things that as a matter of fact, this morning, one of the things that we were talking about as far as detention is concerned, as a matter of fact, is that one of the issues that not just we have, but people all across the state, any jail, any prison facility, all across the state has a problem with drugs coming into the jail, with contraband coming into the jail. And one of the things that happens that we have a hard time combating is that people smuggling those things inside their body cavity, for example. And most of the things, I would say probably, I would guess probably 95% of all the contraband that you find inside the facility is because someone has smuggled that inside a body cavity to get in there. And with that, we have protocols and policy that we do now as far as like when you come in and you're booked and processed, you're taken to a room where you go through a strip search process. You have to squat and cough and things of that nature, but that is not 100% effective. And I would dare to put a percentage on that about how effective it is, because I have my real doubts on how effective that really is. But that's what we have to do right now to get to try to find people that smuggle contraband into the jail. One of the things that we discussed this morning, and some things I would like to request in the budget, and I've talked to county finance about this, to put in our budget request, is full body scanners when you come into the jail facility. We're wanting to look at the process of buying scanners that does the X-ray scanning, where they can actually, as you're processed through the jail, they can, once you're dressed out, you can go through the X-ray scanner, and it would detect anything that's been smuggled inside the body or inside the body cavity. And I think that would drastically reduce what we see coming into facilities. We know of other facilities that have done that have implemented those things. And again, it's like everything else in life. You get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. So if you get, just a cheap version of that's kind of affordable, you're probably not going to get what you really need out of it. The things that we need is going to cost a lot of money to do that. So we're looking at grants and different things that might offset those costs and how that's going to work, if we could even possibly do it or not. But we're looking at things such as that, maybe that can help with contraband coming in the jail and things of that nature. We're looking at the process of maybe getting away from what we have to do now. And like I say, it's perfectly legal. It's many jails across the state use it, but they have what they call restraint chairs, where you have to strap people down in the chairs mm-hmm. if they're being violent and trying to hurt themselves or hurt others. Those chairs don't work a lot of times. Sometimes they flip them over, break them, get out of them, a lot of different things. And so that becomes another liability and another hazard with that. And so we're looking at maybe doing away with those type of things and maybe seeing if we could put in our budget for the construction of a certified padded room, for example, mm-hmm. to where someone's trying to hurt themselves or hurt others, that especially if they're trying to hurt themselves, that we could put them in that padded room, and that way there's nothing available to them to hurt themselves if they try to ram into a wall or those type of things that's padded and keep them from hurting themselves until we could get the proper paperwork done and places to send those folks. So it's all things like that we're kind of looking at. But all that stuff costs money, and those stuff cost a lot of money. And not only do they cost money, but you have to have certifications and inspections and maintenance and all those kind of things that come with that. And so in the process of exploring these options and these ideas, we have to also make sure that we get things certified through jail standards and make sure that that whatever we do and whatever changes we make has got a stamp of approval from not just from the law standpoint, but also from jail administration, from the state, and those type of things, to make sure that we're doing things that are within compliance, within certification. So along with those things, we're looking at, like I said before, about just reviewing policy, just looking at our policies and reviewing them and going over them and seeing, what can be tweaked or changed, or what was good 3 years ago but no longer applies now, that we can do differently. And so we're just doing a host of things around of trying to figure out what to do for this upcoming budget and what to take away or what to add to for our budgets that's coming up.
Right. You were mentioning about smuggling drugs inside bodies there.
Right.
Well, my questions are, how much of a problem is that to the jail, and what kind of quantity can a person actually fit in? Is it a
well,
I'm trying
without being crude, I'll just say depends on the person.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
But it is an ongoing issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's been an issue forever. I've been doing this, I think this is my 24th year, and it was an issue when I first got hired on. It's been an issue all these years, and it's still an issue. But it's not just an issue here, but it's an issue, like I say, with jails, detention centers, prison facilities. It's been that issue everywhere, not just here. But one of the problems with local jails is the fact that you have so many people coming in and out. Mm-hmm. In prison facilities, you don't have that many people coming in and out. You have a lot of people coming in, and then once they leave, they leave. They don't come back. But the problem that we have is that we have not just people going to court and back, or to the doctor and back, or those type of things, but we have people that are maybe weekenders that are coming in every weekend, in and out of the jail every weekend. Or we may have people who get arrested multiple times that come in today. They're in for maybe tonight, and they make bond tomorrow, and they leave and they get arrested again tomorrow night. They're coming back into the jail again. And so we have a lot of those issues in a local jail with people coming in and out. And so we do have people in our area, unfortunately, that stores things in their body cavity all the time, and just in case they get arrested, that they'll have something taken to jail with them. And so we have to pay special attention to the folks that we know that that's an issue with and a fact. And sometimes we have to put people that we know are doing that. Sometimes we have to put them in isolation for a few days before we put them in general population, and it's just a never-ending cycle of trying to combat those issues.
So the problem is basically with the inmates coming in and out of the jail,
Right.
and not for visitation purposes. The visitations, they just see them on screen.
We have
correct?
video visitation, so
no
yeah.
in face-to-face.
The only real face-to-face visitations we have is through attorneys that are coming in, and we have face-to-face visitations for special things, like if someone dies in their family, they may let the family come visit face-to-face and things of that nature, or someone's getting sentenced to prison and going off for several years. We may authorize a face-to-face visit, for them to see their family and things of that nature. So when they go out to the doctor's office and they go out to the hospitals and they go out to court and those type of things, there's not supposed to be interaction between inmates and the public during that time period. But of course, as you can understand, you got 2 detention officers that's taking 10 people over to court. Sometimes that's hard to keep those interactions at a minimum, keep people separated, and all it takes is just a second to get somebody with their head turned for somebody to grab something and hide it, or somebody pass something to them, or things of that nature. So like I said, it's a never-ending battle, and through those processes, going back forth to court and doctors, we have to do all those things all over again, the strip searches and the check-in and all those things that we have to do, and unfortunately, we can't catch everything coming and going, but hopefully if we can purchase like a body scanner or something like that, we can cut that way down. We can reduce a lot of those things.
It's kind of like one of the scanners when you go through the airport at TSA checkpoint.
Kinda, yeah.
Something similar to that.
Something similar to that, yeah. The ones that I'm really looking at that I would really like to get is the ones that do the full X-ray scan. And again, with that would come policy writing and approval, from the state and those kind of things. So it's nothing that we could just go out today and purchase and put up and start using it. It's something that we have to go through a process of getting things certified and writing policies for and things of that nature.
So I could walk through it and you could tell me what's wrong with me with the X-ray?
I can tell you if you had anything hid.
Okay.
Yeah.
That will not be a problem.
Yeah. So, but like I say, we're just trying to look at changes like that with technology that's coming out and things that are available to us. We're trying to look at it, see what we can do, what we can afford, right? Yeah. And because the thing about it is, there's a lot of equipment, a lot of things out there, but everything that's out there costs money, and most of it costs a lot of money. But other things to think of too, some of the discussions we were having even this morning was the fact of, let's say we find a body scanner or something that we go out and purchase, say pay $100,000 for, and go out and purchase this piece of equipment. Even though that's a huge amount of money, and even though that's a huge expense, you got other things to think about. You got to think about maintenance of that equipment. You got to think about service contracts. You got to think about all those things that come along with that in case that tears up or in case there's a problem with it. And where a lot of people don't realize when you talk about budgeting and finance, it's not just necessarily the purchase of the equipment, but it's the equipment 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Is that piece of equipment going to be obsolete? Are we going to spend an absorbent amount of money on a piece of equipment that in 3 years is not going to be any good, right? So there's a lot of things to take in consideration and look at when you're spending money, especially spending other people's money. To purchase things, we need to make sure that we're doing wise purchases and doing wise things that'll benefit the county.
Yeah, the ongoing cost, because I still think of the sheriff's office as a brand new building, but it's having maintenance.
It's 12 years old now,
and it's already having maintenance issues and it needs repairs in certain areas. But but yeah, in my mind, it's a brand new building.
Yeah,
but yeah, all that stuff costs money.
It's a brand new building that a tornado went straight across the top of too.
That's right.
Yeah, that. And with the tornado damage several years ago, there's cracked walls and different things that occurred from that structurally the building is still okay, but you just say it requires maintenance. It requires, in 12 years, you look at just carpet being replaced or walls painted or, just door hinges need to be replaced or light fixtures or whatever.
Heating and air systems.
That's a big problem that we have is our heating and air systems. We purchase those all the time as they go out, and they're not very cheap either. They're very expensive. And so, when you get, like I say, a building that's 10, 12 years old, you got all those things coming with it. So as we're looking at budget and maintenance and putting those things together, when we purchase these other pieces of equipment like we're talking about, if we ever get to that place where we can get it, then you have to offset those things as to what do we really have to have and what are we going to look for our budget that we have to do, and what are things that we would really like to have. It's kind of like your personal household budget, right? Things that you've got to pay for and things that you would like to have. So we have to go through those discussions and figure out where it ranks on the importance list. And unfortunately, that's a long process. It starts probably this month, and we'll go from now to May.
I know.
Trying to figure out.
At a commission meeting last year, there was someone speaking about the need for more officers. And is there any plan to add more officers as far as patrolling?
What we're trying to do is we're trying to rearrange some things. And you talked about people wearing multiple hats and multiple things. I'll give you an example. Our narcotics unit is one of the things that we're looking at. Before we had, I think, 5 officers in the narcotics unit that was doing nothing but full-time drug investigations. So we go back and we look at that. Okay, how does that work in the last 4 years? How can we change that? How can we make that different? How can we make it better? And so now with the cooperation of getting the DEA and getting the ATF involved and having TFOs in the office and doing joint operations and those type of things, we've built those bridges and got to that place where we can do that. So then we have to ask the question, do we really need 5 narcotics officers? And so what we're looking at is with changes and with those things coming in, I feel like a sheriff looking and trying to be wise with the budget, instead of going and asking for 4 more patrol officers or 3 more patrol officers, why don't we take the narcotics unit down to 2 officers, work all these joint operations with the federal and local governments. We'll still be getting drugs off the street, still be going after dealers, still be going after things, and probably get more time out of it, to tell you the truth, since we can take them to federal court now. And use that with 2 officers, and we can take those other remaining 3 or 4 positions and move those back into patrol or move those back into places where we can get more coverage out here for the county. So we're trying to accomplish the same things, but be thrifty with what we have, and not constantly going back and asking for more and more and more money, Right. Because even though we need more and more money and a lot of things we can do with more and more money, sometimes money's not the answer. Sometimes it's look at what you're doing and can you do it better is the answer. And those are the things that we're trying to evaluate and the things that we're trying to do.
All right, Sheriff, I see our time has come and gone quickly.
See, we didn't have a thing to talk about today.
We didn't have a thing to talk about today. Do you have anything that you want to add before we say goodbye?
No, I just do want to mention real quick, we do have cold weather coming. I'm sure Robin talked about it this morning. I think after Tuesday it's supposed to be cold for the rest of the week, down in the 30s and of the highs for the rest of the week. Just a reminder of people that we do still have the firewood program, and it's still available. If you're a senior out there and you use firewood, or you're a disabled person, disabled veteran, whatever the issue may be, that you're having a hard time getting wood or keeping warm, don't go cold. Call 837-2521. That's the detention center. Ask for the jail administrator, Sean Crisp, and he will make sure that you get firewood for your place. And so we don't want people to abuse that. We don't want people that's able to go pay and able to buy wood and able to get out and work. It's not for you. It's for the seniors and for the people who can't do that for themselves. Right. And so we want to make sure that we get that done. Okay. And if you are able to work and you're able to pay, but you have got extenuating circumstances, you can feel free to call also. We'll talk to you about that also.
And with the cold weather next week, I was just telling Robin this morning, I may be looking at going to some kind of vacation next week.
Right.
Yeah, it may be a perfect vacation week for me.
It may be.
Yeah, somewhere warmer.
Well, I've got a vacation planned later on this month, and I can't wait. I'm counting down the days. I've actually got it on my calendar,
awesome.
Ticking off.
It's the countdown, the vacation.
There you go.
All right. Well, Sheriff, thank you very much. We'll see you again next week, if not before. You're tuned to 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide. We're at country.am. And hitting the stop button on the Facebook Live feed here as people get to hear my every move on the radio. And now let's hit the stop button on this side.